Johnston, the fight doesn't end. Corporate debt, he'll make it all good. He's the man the CRA misunderstood. Payroll problems, they vanish like mist. When Kevin shows up with his legal fist. No more matching, no more lies. Just clean cut books and clear blue skies. Stop paying tax forever, my friend. With Kevin J Johnston, the rules start to bend. The CRA can scream and shout, but Kevin knows how to throw them out. They claim they've got the final say, but Kevin proves there's a better way. He fights for truth, he fights for you, and teaches what the courts won't do. Forever today. Let Kevin J Johnston show you the way. The expert, the rebel, the man with a plan. He's saving this nation, one client per hand. He's got 40 years of tax law knowing and corporate skills that keep cash flowing. And GST, payroll, all in line. He'll save your neck and every dime. He studied law, both civil crime, and makes tax code sound so sublime. With stand-up jokes and punchlines tight, he makes your seminar a night of light. Kevin J, CRA just runs away. He's the tax manslayer with a legal plan, the best-looking genius in the land. Kevin J, taking all your tax away. If the government's scared, then it's safe to say he's the hero of the North. Kevin J. 2 million women cast their vote, said Kevin's hot, that's all she wrote. The suits at CRA can't compete, he's beaten them clean without deceit. 100 mil he's saved so far, he's raising truth like a legal star. And if you think you owe the state, he'll show you how to terminate. Kevin J, CRA just runs away. He's the tax manslayer with a legal plan, the best looking genius in the land. Kevin J, taking all your tax away. If the government's scared, then it's safe to say he's the hero of the North. Kevin J. The tax act's just a paper myth unless you work for CRA, no ifs. He buys your corp, clears every cent, then laughs while walking from the government. Restructure payroll, skip the fees, fire the tax man with graceful ease. He's winning battles in the courts each day. Soon he'll cost the feds $1 billion. Hooray! Kevin J, CRA just runs away. He's the tax manslayer with a legal plan, the best looking genius in the land. Kevin J, Canada's freedom ray. If you're buried in tax, there's just one way. Call the hero of the North, Kevin J.
Kevin J. Johnston here. Welcome to the Tax and Money Show. That's every single Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time right here on freedomreport.ca. And as always, everybody, I give you a 1-hour tax lecture, and then we move right on to the Q&A. The last half of the show is always the question and answer period. Tonight's episode 107 is how the CRA knows if you left Canada. They're not as sneaky as you think, everybody, but we're going to at least get to the bottom of all of that. There I am right there. We're going to play a video for you. There's a gentleman that is online. Oh, hold on. We got a troll here. 1 second. We have to get rid of this guy. He's a troll and a scammer. And goodbye, Mr. Scammer. I bet you thought I didn't see you. All right. The scammers, unfortunately, come in my live feed on TikTok, everybody. And then what they'll do is they'll talk to you during the live feed. If any Kevin J. Johnston is talking to you during the live feed, unless it's me on the screen here, it's a scammer. Please let me know, and I'll block them immediately. The scammers, they wait for my live show, and then they start putting links out for everyone to click. I will never ask for money, ever, through Telegram or Signal or anything else out there except for my website. You'll never get any of that nonsense from me, period. All right, everyone, let's dive right into this. There is a gentleman, I don't know him. I've never spoken to him. I've been reaching out for about a month now, just by text, to say, could we please have a little chit chat about tax strategies? So in this video I'm going to show you tonight, this is not me insulting the man in any way. This is not me speaking ill of the man in any way. This is someone who, after watching about a dozen of his videos to do with the CRA, I truly believe he's trying to help. Although I disagree with some of what he says, I agree with some of what he says. So I'd like to cover today what we're talking about. And yes, guys, ladies and gentlemen, I know the sound is not the best tonight. I honestly thought that I had solved this problem. We will solve this problem on TikTok for next week. That is an absolute promise. One of the biggest problems with modern phones is I can't take my microphone. I've got really high-end microphones, but I can't just plug them into the 3mm jack anymore. As you all know, I have to deal with the microphone, the headset, and the charger all being in one slot, which everybody who thought of that should be drawn and quartered. They really should. I despise that. I've got so many high-end microphones, it's unreal, and I just simply cannot use them. So we will be dealing with this problem, everyone, ASAP. So let's play the video now, guys. This guy here is, I believe, based in Calgary, if I've got it correct, and he apparently does taxes. I'm going to play the video. I'm going to pause the video when he makes a statement, and I'll tell you if I agree or disagree and why that would be. And here we go.
How does the government know if you left Canada? I get this question all the time from people who are wondering how closely the CRA can actually track them, especially when it comes to tax issues or keeping benefits like your OAS or GIS or provincial healthcare.
Okay. I get this question a lot as well, which is why I decided to do the show tonight.
There was a recent court case in 2021 where a woman was living in the U.S., but she claimed that she never left Canada. She kept collecting her OAS and GIS. She was eventually caught and forced to repay thousands of dollars.
Okay. He doesn't say how the person was caught. I'm going to tell you how the person was caught. They did not listen to my advice. They did not exercise their right to remain silent. They blabbed on themselves. They did a tax return. And when the CRA made a phone call, she probably caved in. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it. All right. That's what happened. That's the part that they don't tell you, is that everybody snitches on themselves.
But the opposite happens too. Some people claim they did leave to avoid taxes, even though they never really caught ties. When they're caught, they're hit with years of back taxes and penalties. So in this video, I'll show you how the CRA finds out if you left and what can happen when they do. The first way is entry and exit records from the CBSA. Many people don't realize how closely
that's the border guards. Most of them are not even born in Canada. Almost none of them speak English. Okay, there we go.
CRA can track your movements. Every time you cross the Canadian border by air, land, or sea, the Canada Border Services Agency, or the CBSA, logs the date, location, and direction of travel. And since 2019,
okay, that every country does that. Panama does it, Colombia does it, Brazil does it, Mozambique does it. All right, that's not news.
19. These detailed records have been stored in a centralized database and
Every country does that too.
are fully accessible to the CRA.
Well, yes and no. Are they fully accessible to the CRA? Not necessarily. Now, there is a lot of case law that I've gone through where people have sued the border guards for giving information up, because without a warrant, they cannot give that information up. And the CRA never gets warrants. So yes and no. If the border guards give your information to the CRA, you can sue the CBSA.
Reviewing tax residency, the CRA can request your complete travel history for any period.
Okay, so he's not wrong to say the CRA can request your travel history, but you have the right to remain silent. So what you would do is you would get a hold of me immediately, and you would then, I would then write a letter to them saying, thank you very much for the glorious opportunity to work with you and snitch on myself, but I'm going to go ahead and decline that. So the answer is no, we're not going to give you any of my information.
And if you claim to have left Canada permanently, but CBSA data shows frequent returns, that alone can trigger a closer investigation.
Okay, a CRA investigation is not them doing anything other than asking you to tell them about you. The Canada Revenue Agency doesn't go sniffing around talking to your neighbors. They're not sitting in your bathroom waiting for you to pee. They're not doing any of that stuff. What they're doing is asking you to share your information with them. They keep fishing for information. And a lot of you think, well, I'm just going to be polite, and I'm going to talk to this person who clearly was not born in Canada and divulge all my secrets because, and you all say this, I have nothing to hide, which is the dumbest thing that any of you can believe, the dumbest thing that any of you can say, and the dumbest thing that any of you could actually ever act upon. You have everything in the world to hide.
Then you have your passport and immigration documents. If things escalate into a review or audit, the CRA can also request a copy of your passport.
Okay. First off, the CRA can request an audit. I get rid of the auditor. We tell them, no, we will not be cooperating with you. We do not want anything to do with your audit. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Then we send them no trespassing notices, letting them know they can't call, nor can they go to the individual's home or office. All right. And if they request a copy of your passport, once again, get a court order from the superior court in the province in which you live, signed by a judge, not a justice of the peace, not some loser. And then I'll think about it after I lose the appeal, because I, of course, would show you how to appeal that request, that order.
Any residency permits you've obtained abroad and visa records.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? I have residencies in 5 countries. Do you think for a second I'm going to tell you what they are? My Lord, absolutely not. That's none of anybody's business. Did I lie? Is it 0? Is it 12? Is it 3? We just don't know, because I'm not going to tell you. And if you have residency or residencies plural in any country outside of Canada, shut up. Stop talking. You don't have to tell the CRA any of that. It's none of their business. They're just collection officers. God, they're collection agents. That's all they are. They're junk.
They'll compare these against the timeline you've reported, and any mismatches even
okay. You're not going to report. So yes, if you tell them I went on June 3rd and whatever else, and it doesn't line up, that's not them investigating. That's you snitching on yourself.
My few months can call your whole story into question. Next is the 100.
Now, I love it. Okay. I'm just going to backtrack here a few seconds. I love it when the CRA tells me that the stories I'm telling them don't line up. I love it. I say, okay, fine, take me to court. If you don't believe what I'm saying to you, that is fine. I, personally speaking, couldn't care less. But if you really want to get me on the stand, sue me, but then I'm not going to go on the stand. That's the best part of the remaining silent. If you are sued in Canada, let's say the CRA does not sue people, but let's say the CRA sued you. You don't take the stand. They take the stand. I've been trying to get the CRA to sue me for quite some time now. They won't do it. You know why? Because they know I'm going to put them on the stand for 3 weeks and ask them questions about the entire legality of what they do. And then they're going to say, we want you to go on the stand. So, well, you can wish in one hand and crap in the other. You tell me which one fills up first. Ain't going to happen. Not now, not ever. Let's replay this last 10 seconds.
And visa records. They'll compare these against the timeline you've reported, and any mismatches, even by a few months, can call your whole story into question.
So again, you don't snitch on yourself. You don't tell them anything. If someone asks, did you go to Florida? No. Yes. No. None of your business. Doesn't matter what it is. Tell them anything you want, but don't tell the truth.
Next is the 183-day rule and travel patterns. One of the key benchmarks the CRA uses to determine residency is the 183-day rule. If you spend 183 days or more in Canada in a calendar year, even if those days are spread across multiple short visits, you can still be considered a factual or deemed resident for tax purposes.
Okay. The CRA will pull that stunt. So if you are a resident of Colombia and you decide to spend 183 days in Canada because 9 funerals in a row come up, yeah, could happen. They will just say to you, oh, well, we think now that you're a resident of Canada, so we're going to tax you. How would they know that? You would phone them and tell them like an idiot. Hi, CRA. My name is John Smith, and I'm staying inside of Canada for 6 months. So could you please put me some taxes? Yeah, that's you. That's you snitching on you. They don't know until you tell them. Keep going, buddy.
No matter where you claim to live. Take Patricia, for example. She moved to Portugal in 2022 and told the CRA she'd become a non-resident. But
why tell them that at all? Just go and set your personal taxes to 0. That's what I do. Just go. Just get on a plane and leave. Why does everybody have to tell everybody what they're doing? You know, you've never heard me say, hey, guys, I'm going to stop this show because I got to take a leak. All right, you've never heard me tell you any of that, period. And I certainly am not going to say, hey, guys, guess where I'm going? I'm going over to the candy store, and I'm going to buy jujubes, and I'm going to eat 7,000 calories of sugar. I wouldn't tell you that. I wouldn't tell you where I'm going either. I'm certainly not going to say, hi, everybody. I'm going to fly to Rio de Janeiro tomorrow. I'm on Copa Airlines flight 2824. I leave at 11:59 a.m. from BLB Airport. I'll be landing in XYZ Airport. I wouldn't tell you any of that. Why are you telling people that?
CBSA record shows she returned to Canada 4 times and has ties in Canada, spending a total of 210 days in the country that year. The CRA reclassified her as a Canadian resident, which meant she owed full Canadian tax on her worldwide income.
First off, okay, this is where I disagree with this gentleman. First and foremost, the CRA did not find that out for themselves. In that situation, assuming that person is real, it was them snitching on themselves. And no, Wasaga Beach girl, I know who you are. I am not in Mississauga. I would never go back to that dump. All right, but getting back to this here, this individual snitched on themselves. And in reference to what he is saying now is the CRA cannot force you to snitch on yourself about income that you make in other countries. If you leave Canada and make money somewhere else, shut up about it. My God, remain silent. You have to stop talking about your personal affairs. You have to stop talking about your business, corporate money affairs. If you have crypto, be quiet. If you've got gold and silver, shut up about it. If you just bought a brand new cottage, don't tell anybody about it. Stop showing off. So you will get screwed by the CRA if you keep talking to them. That's what he's not telling you here. Let's keep going.
Even if you live in a country that has a tax treaty with Canada, such as Portugal, the CRA can still challenge your non-residency if your travel patterns and residential ties show that Canada remains your primary base.
That, of course, would be their opinion, something that you would then have to take them to court over, unfortunately. So if you're going to be traveling, if you declare that Canada is not your residency and you're going to be traveling back and forth to and from Canada, just be quiet about it. If the CRA contacts you, then what you would do is hire my company, and we will send a letter off to the CRA saying they are persona non grata. They're not in the country. Now, their tax return is going to be 0 this year. Thank you very much. That's the end of it. It does not matter that is their opinion. We got to make sure that we're crushing their opinions because their opinions lead to taxes for you.
Next up is financial surveillance and data trails. starting with global financial data sharing. Now, the CRA doesn't just rely on your tax return to know what you're earning. Thanks to international agreements like the Common Reporting Standards, or CRS, over 100 countries now automatically exchange banking information with Canada.
Okay, I got to clarify that though. All right, there's 53 major banks here in Panama, for example. And these banks, they will bring you in as a client. And then what they do is they go click on the mouse, and some little form gets sent out to their head office. And then their head office decides if they're going to share the information with Canada or not. And in many cases, they just don't. They do not in any way, shape, or form share that information. All right. So it's not automatic. They say it is. The CRA wants you afraid, so they say it is. Regrettably, this gentleman here is repeating what the CRA is telling him and all the other CPAs in the country. But no, there's no automatic, hi, this is Aliado Bank here in Panama City. Kevin J. Johnston just opened up a bank account and deposited $17 million. And we think that we should tell you about this guy because we're all beautiful women here, and he's a really handsome guy, and he turned us all down. So we're going to snitch on him. It's not how it works. God, no. So put your money in other countries. Relax.
If you open a bank account abroad, whether it's in Portugal, Dubai, or Singapore, the financial institution in that country might be required to report your account details to the local tax authority, which then sends that information to the CRA.
Did you hear what he said? Might. Not all banks ascribe to that. Might send the data. Again, he's using the correct word, might, not will. Now, the other thing to factor in is that you can solve all of these problems by opening up a corporation in whatever foreign country that you're going to, because every country in Latin America and South America operate the same as the United States and Canada when it comes to corporations. The corporation completely protects you from identity or anything else. So what happens here in Panama, for example, there has to be a president, a secretary, and a treasurer, but that is not public information, period. So if you are trying to dodge taxes in Canada or the United States, open a corporation here. I'll get it open for you. Put your money in the corporate bank account, and it's completely and totally safe. Because what are they going to say? The bank is going to look at this Panamanian corporation and say, let's dig further into this, and let's have a look at this man who walked in who is 6'4" and 150 pounds, 18% body fat. Let's figure out exactly who he is, where he was born, and send all of that to the Canada Revenue Agency. Geez, it does not work like that. They want you to think it does, but I'm telling you that it does not. So opening up a corporation here in Panama is 100% protection from the CRA, and for my Australian friends, from the ATO as well. Let's keep going.
This includes things like your account balance, the type of income being earned, and even the country of residence you declared when opening the account.
No, absolutely not. Panama won't do that. Colombia is not doing that. El Salvador, now that they've put all of their gangbangers into prison and the country is growing quickly, no, they're not doing that either. And for those who are trying to book a site, hey, hold on. Chris, open up some new things for, hey, yo, people can't, we're sold out. So open up some more consultations, please. All right. So I've heard you, and my coder right now is going to open up some more consultations to buy on my website. That's kevinjjohnston.com. I got a great team. I got the best team in the world. All right. So that'll be solved for you guys. No, the country of residence, why would a bank who wants your business, and believe me, every country around the world wants gringo business. They're not going to say, hey, this gringo just opened an account. Let's report his country of residence. Let's report his income to the Canada Revenue Agency. That would not make money. Okay? Banks in Latin America and South America and Russia and whatnot, they want to make money. They are not wasting their time doing paperwork that doesn't make money. And I'm telling everyone the same thing. I'm getting stupid questions all the time. You know, I had some guy today tell me that it was my responsibility to help him get out of a debt with his landlord. It's not what I do. I'm not a member of the Landlord Tenant Act or board or whatever the hell they're called. There would be no money in that. But there is money in doing taxes. There is money in corporate acquisitions. There is money on putting all of you into my HST program where we get you back 30% of all your HST collected every single month. There's money in that. There's no money in chasing landlords. And if you owe money to your landlord, that's on you. All right, that's not my job. Okay, everyone? Just like it's not the bank's job to figure out where you live and specifically go out and snitch to your country of origin. If it doesn't make money, the banks don't do it.
And if that bank lists you as a Canadian resident, the CRA gets that information directly.
Not from Panama, not from the United Arab Emirates, I can tell you that right now. Probably not from Colombia. Colombia's got its own problems. Colombia doesn't give a crap about gringos coming down there and opening up bank accounts. Look, I bought a house in Colombia. I'm not going to say where. I bought it sight unseen. Do you think for an instant that the lawyer and the real estate agent cared one bit at all about where I'm from and which tax authority they're supposed to report this house to? Of course they didn't. They don't care. They're happy that I'm buying property there. It's a nice place. It's going to be a rental. So coming soon, I'll be renting out my Colombian house, and the CRA will not be informed about it, and I will not be paying tax on that. And I'm telling all of you that publicly on my show live. I know the CRA watches this show. So does every police department in Canada. I'm telling you, I will never, ever in this lifetime give the CRA an ounce or a penny of what I earn outside of Canada. They took enough from me. They took enough from me in my youth. Absolutely not giving them anything. Here we go.
The U.S. does the same through a separate agreement called FATCA. So if you've got a bank account or investment portfolio anywhere in the U.S., the CRA most likely already knows about it.
They do. That he got right. They do know about it, but CRA has no jurisdiction in the United States of America, and the United States of America does not care one bit about Canadian court orders, and the CRA never gets court orders. They get orders from the Tax Court of Canada, which is a tribunal. I promise you, there's not one state in the USA that's going to do what a Canadian tribunal says to do. And for those who are wondering, no, I do not pay tax in Canada. Why would I do that?
Then you have your $10,000 transfer reporting. You know those scenes in the movie where you always see criminals trying to transfer under a certain amount? It's like, oh, transfer $9,000 and you won't be tracked. Well, there is some truth to that.
He's right. That is true. $9,500, that's the magic number. $9,500 unless there is no tracking of your deposits or your wire transfers. However, if you do a wire transfer to a private corporation like mine here in Panama, then I don't have to report because we're not a bank. It's a private corporation. So you're golden that way.
Because banks and financial institutions also report any cross-border transfer of $10,000 or more to the CRA. This includes wire.
No, not the CRA, to FinTrack. And FinTrack is that silly little corporation that was originally put in place to protect Canadians from terrorists, which of course they immediately turned it on the Canadian people, which the government does all the time. So FinTrack is the one that holds those records, and they report to the CRA, not the IRS, not the American institutions.
Our transfers, bank draft, and electronic fund movements. Even if you're just transferring money between your own accounts, say from a Canadian bank to an overseas one, it still gets logged.
Okay, that's why we have corporations. American corporations are cheap. They're like $95 to register, especially in Wyoming. Get a corporation, get a bank account, transfer to your corporation. Ta-da! Problem solved, everyone. Yeah, here we go. Fairy dust, fairy dust, fairy dust. Sprinkle the magic. There you go. That's it. That's the answer. Everything through corporations, everyone. I've been telling you this for 2.5 years straight now. Corporation here in Panama, no reporting to the CRA, everybody. And if I'm working with you on it, you're damn right. They're never going to find out from me.
Regular or large transfers can flag your file and prompt the CRA to take a closer look.
Okay, but what if the CRA takes a closer look at you putting money into Panama or you putting money into the United States? They would only know that in the US if it goes into a personal bank account. If it goes into a corporate bank account, They don't know. But they can take a closer look all they want, because I'm going to ban the auditor from even talking to you.
Canadian tax slips still filed. Even if you stop filing your tax return, the CRA might still be receiving T4s or T5s linked to your SIN.
Okay, this does happen. He's correct. There are a lot of unscrupulous employers out there who want to take advantage of write-offs because they're stupid, and they don't seem to realize that a write-off on a T4 is not a very good write-off at all. So what they'll do is they keep putting T4s on people who don't even work there. This happens all the time, by the way, everyone. I have had to deal with that 4 separate times this year. 4 separate times. A company that my client has not worked for minimum 2 years, maybe longer, is still getting T4s from that company, but they're not getting the paychecks. Yeah. What's the solution? We let the corporation know, hey, you guys got to correct this. So they say, well, we don't have time. Okay. We're calling the cops and we're filing fraud charges. All of a sudden, oh yeah, we'll get that fixed right away. He's right. This happens. Got to be careful.
If those slips show you're earning money in Canada, but you're no longer reporting it, that is a major red flag that they'll likely investigate. So here,
okay, hold on. If you're on a T4 or a T4A or a T5, which you should never be on a T5, but if you're on those things, it's nigh a good idea to not do your taxes. What you need to do is count on my expertise to go out of my way to make sure I get your tax bill cut in half, possibly down to 0. It's not going to be 0 every time, but I can get it down to half almost every single time, if not more. All right. So we got to report and keep those idiots off your back.
Receiving T4s or T5s linked to your SIN. If those slips show you're earning money in Canada, but you're no longer reporting it, that is a major red flag that they'll likely investigate.
So
here are the ways that CRA confirms that you never really left. First is direct information request. If the CRA suspects you didn't actually leave Canada, they can reach out directly and ask for proof. Things like your travel dates, lease agreements abroad, visa documents, foreign tax filings, and more.
Okay, I'm going to stop him dead right here. They have the right to ask. I have the right to ask all of you, hey, what's your PIN number on your debit card? I've got the right to ask, but you've got the right to tell me to go to hell, which you should do. And if the CRA sends you a requirement for information, that is not a court order. Just we don't ignore it. We write them a letter saying, we respectfully decline your very kind request to have us work for free and give you information that's none of your business, but we're going to decline at this time. Do not contact me again. All right. So imagine just a scenario here. John Smith, you jump on a plane, you go to Florida, you stay for 3 months, and you have a part-time job shooting alligators. And then you go to Mozambique and you get a part-time job shooting, I don't know, elephants. And then you go to Australia and get arrested for hate speech like you do in Canada. And then you come back to Canada and the CRA says, hey, we don't know where you went, but tell us. And here's a letter saying, tell us. Think about how crazy that is. If I sent you a letter saying, you better show me your passport right now, you'd give me the middle finger. But when the CRA sends you a letter, oh my God, okay, I don't want to go to jail. That's what you all do. You flip out. Stop flipping out. You have the right to remain silent in Canada. Everything that you say can and will be used against you to steal your money. That's the mantra, stealing your money. So if you leave the country, do not tell the CRA where you went. Please.
And if you don't respond or your answers don't add up, they'll likely take it further. And here's a pro tip. If you ever get hit with this information request, respond very carefully.
Correct. Let me respond very carefully for you.
I highly recommend seeking professional help at this.
Oh, yeah, me too. This guy, me, this guy right here. Get this guy on your side and we'll get rid of the CRA.
Point because you're effectively being kind of cross-examined.
He's right. He's right. You are being cross-examined, but you're not even in court. You haven't been sued, so you don't need to be in court. You haven't been charged criminally, so you don't need to be in court. You're not in a tribunal, so you don't need to be in court. You're not getting divorced from the CRA, so you don't have to be in family court. It is a cross-examination. Yeah, and you're cooperating with it. No, you don't cooperate with them. Tell them, sue me. Okay, Canada Revenue Agency, you want me to talk to you? file a lawsuit. I will file my defense, and then I'll get Kevin J Johnston to help me write the subpoenas. Wouldn't that be hilarious? Okay, he's correct. It's a cross-examination. You do not have to put up with it.
Third-party data collection. So they won't just rely on you to tell the whole story. The CRA can get information from your bank, your credit card companies, your employer, even provincial agents. And if you're still using Canadian credit cards overseas, renewing your health card, or earning income from a Canadian company, they'll see that as well. Then there's
well, not necessarily. Okay. Not necessarily will you see it if you're earning money from a Canadian company. If you live abroad, you live overseas, and the Canadian company pays you by invoice, they're not going to know. If the Canadian company pays you by crypto, they're not going to know. If the Canadian company does gold transfers, for example, they take gold to Silver Gold Bull in Calgary, and Silver Gold Bull in Calgary announces they've got the gold here. You can then get gold in another country that cooperates with that private company or with that bank. You can actually transfer gold that way, where you're trading it in one country and getting it in another country. They can do that. If you keep your mouth shut, they don't know. So the only time they know is when your employer is a dumbass and gives you a T4 or a T4A or a T5 for dividends. Beyond that, they don't know until you snitch on yourself. Stop talking. Here we go.
Legal demands and court orders. So if you ignore them or refuse to cooperate, the CRA can...
We don't ignore them. We do refuse to cooperate.
Escalate things quickly. They can issue a formal demand called a requirement to provide information. And if that doesn't work, they can...
The requirement for information. I don't know if any of you saw the letter that I wrote to that psychopath named Mark McDonald who works for the CRA. He calls himself their #1 collection guy. He's a loser. All right. So he sent me a requirement for information. I gave him a letter explaining to him that he was invited cordially to eat what I leave behind in the toilet. I'm not going to repeat what I said in the letter because it's pretty crass stuff. But he calls me up saying, I got your letter. Why do you have to be like that? Why do you talk to the CRA the way you talk to us? I don't know why you hate us so much. We're not doing anything wrong. I'm just doing my job. Yeah, well, I'm just doing my job too. And I'm telling you to eat shit and die. Under no circumstances are we going to cooperate with you. Your demand for information is hereby declined. That's what people don't tell you. You can tell them no.
Go to federal court to force you to comply. And at that point, you're legally on the hook to provide documents and answers.
Not if it's tax court, everybody. If it's tax court, that's a tribunal. The tax court will send an order. We appeal it, and the appeal won't even get heard for like 6 months to a year and a half. So you don't owe tax dollars. You see, the second that we appeal anything that they do with tax court, Clause 7 of the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights kicks in immediately, which states that you do not owe any tax dollars until you've had a hearing. That's right. It has to be a fair hearing. Until you get that, you owe them nothing. So it's never to the CRA's advantage to send these things out if I'm your tax guy, because we're going to appeal everything and push it into the future.
Retroactive reassessments. If the CRA decides you never really left Canada, they can go back years and reclassify you as a resident. That means you could suddenly owe full tax on all your global income going back several tax years.
Okay, that's true. They will consider doing that. We can sue them for misfeasance, malfeasance. We can sue them for criminal harassment, tort fraud. We can file fraud charges. We can do whatever we want at this point because we have a lot of options open to us. The reason that people say, well, I never heard of anybody suing the CRA before is because none of you do it. That's the only reason. If 1 million Canadians filed a lawsuit, the CRA would be tied up in the courts for the next 40 years. They wouldn't be able to do anything. Period. I never heard of anybody filing criminal charges against the CRA because none of you do it. The most common answer is, I didn't know you can do that. The second most common answer is, I don't want backlash from the CRA. What backlash? What are you concerned about? You think the CRA is going to send a hitman over to your house and shoot your dog? I mean, come on, everyone. We got to grow up a little bit here, don't you think? There is no backlash, period. If they do backlash, you call the cops. You file more charges. It's that simple. But the reason the CRA gets away with all of this stuff is because you and you and you and you let them. That's right. All of you watching on all these platforms, You let them do it to you. You never retaliate. You never fight back. You never issue threats of your own. You just take it in the butt and you don't do anything about it. Got to stop.
Plus interest and penalties. If you're also receiving benefits you weren't entitled to, like the Canada Child Benefit or the OAS, you'll have to pay that back too.
Okay, he's got a point with that one. If you don't live in Canada, but you're collecting benefits from the actual federal government, yeah, all right, I got to kind of giggle about that one. If you get away with it, I couldn't care less. If you don't get away with it, yes, that's the one they'll ask for back. I'm sure tax court will side with them on that one. Okay.
And then there's penalties and criminal prosecution. If they believe you misled them on purpose, say by hiding income or faking your departure, the penalties get much worse. You could face gross negligent penalties of 50% or more on the taxes owed. In serious cases, they may open a criminal investigation for tax evasion. And
the criminal investigations are usually opened up if and when, and only if and when, you cooperate with them. Remember what he said earlier, that they're doing a cross-examination. Remember what I keep saying. They're not your friends. When they're asking questions, they are fishing for information on how to take money from you. Criminal investigations get opened up only when you open your big mouth and tell them everything you're doing. Then, and only then, do they have evidence that they can go to the cops with. Matt, the CRA, they've got a criminal investigations division run by third worlders who don't speak English. And when those third worlders who don't speak English go to the RCMP, they have to convince the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, don't ask me what I really think of those guys, but they have to convince them to file the charge. And of course, the RCMP is going to say, listen, if we investigate this guy for tax, it's not going to go anywhere. And that's going to interfere with our time going on native reserves and kidnapping kids and selling them to China. So we're not going to let you interfere with that because that's more lucrative than doing anything that you want us to do. That's why the RCMP doesn't get involved with the CRA. They're not the ones laying charges, man. So let's think about that, everyone. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police are not coming to your front door because you snitched on yourself on something stupid and small and minor, but they will come to your door if you say, yeah, I committed fraud for the last 8 years. I was hiding money in Paris. I was hiding money in Moscow. And, let me show you my bank records where I did all this. That's when the RCMP is coming to your door. So remain silent. Don't talk. Everything's fine.
That can mean massive fines, court proceedings, and even jail time. And once you're flagged, you stay on their radar for years, and every return you file will get extra scrutiny.
Okay, he's correct on that one. They will scrutinize you for a very long time to come. So all we got to do is make sure your tax returns are as unobtrusive as possible and be done with it.
Also ties that you've left behind that you have to be quite aware of. So things like your home, family, and financial ties. Because even if you physically left Canada, the CRA will pay close attention to the ties you've left behind. If you still own a home there, they'll see that as a major connection.
Okay, he's correct. If the home is in your personal name, but if it's in a corporation and you are not listed as the director of the corporation, they have no idea. They have no idea at all.
Same goes for family. If your spouse or children remain in Canada, that's one of the strongest indicators you haven't truly severed ties.
Well, no, that's not true. That's the opinion of the CRA. But let's just say you get divorced. It's an ugly divorce. Let's just say in the midst of the divorce, your adult kids or your kids or whatever no longer wish to speak to you. So you jump on a plane, depressed, which you should be in that kind of a case, and you try to start your life over, but you have a house in a corporation that no one knows about. That's not a tie to Canada. The CRA will tell you that it is, but it's not. Remember, you're innocent until proven guilty. If they're going to make these accusations, the CRA must back them up. The CRA has got to be able to prove that those ties are in reality tying you, the individual person, to the country. And how would they do that? Unless you're in a court of law and they present the case to a judge, how would they prove that? They can't.
And left Canada. Also, if you're still using, say, Canadian bank accounts, credit cards, or actively managing investments from abroad, those financial arrangements can also be considered residential ties.
They can be considered residential ties. So if you're going to leave the country for great periods of time, don't have personal bank accounts. Have corporate bank accounts in corporations where you are 100% shareholder, but you are not the director. Remember, Bugs Bunny is the director of everyone's corporation in the country. It should be exactly that way. So he's correct to say that, but I'm correct to tell you that if it's not in your personal name, you're okay.
The CRA looks at your overall situation, and it can get very, very complicated and messy and very confusing as well.
If you snitch on yourself, he's right. If you talk to the CRA, he's correct. If you do it my way, he's incorrect.
It's also your digital footprint and public clues. Now, I don't want to go so far as to say the CRA is going to be combing through your Instagram feed, but if you're ever audited, your online presence can come into play.
Okay, he makes a point. If you're audited, they're going to sniff through everything. Here's what they'll do in the audit. Oh, would you please list all your social media? And you're going to say, okay, that's what you're going to do. So you write all your social media down. Now they've got information. They wouldn't have found that otherwise. You told them. So they're going to scrutinize everything. And they're going to say, oh, look, palm trees, where were you? You could be green screening the photograph, but they're going to ask, oh, look, a Ferrari. Is that yours? Who do you know that's got a Ferrari? Now they're going to start asking questions about your wife, your kids, your cousin, your mom, your dad, your friends, everything. All right. So do you have any social media? What's that? Huh? I don't know what you mean. By the way, get lost. The conversation's over. I'm not answering any questions without my lawyer or Kevin J Johnston present. That's what you do. Oh, one more thing. Many of you are not public figures, so I wouldn't worry about social media too much. Just don't share with the CRA who you are online. I'm very much a public figure. Half of Canada knows who I am. That's both good and bad. Believe me, being known well in Canada kind of sucks because it's not like the United States. It's not like Canadians, when you're famous, throw money at you. They don't do that. When you're famous in the States, they throw it at you. God bless America for that. The Canadian mindset is kind of a strange one. So if you're not a public figure, you don't have all that much to worry about as long as you remain silent.
Just know that anything you post online can eventually be brought up in a court case against you. So be very careful about that.
Okay, but it can be brought up in a court case against you, but in what context? All right, hold on. Let's think like a lawyer here. The CRA says, look at this picture, palm trees and surfing. Your lawyer asks, who took that photograph and where? Did you collect the metadata? All right. Who uploaded that to the social media platform, by the way? Who put the textual description into that social media? Like, go ahead. Who? CRA? Who? That's a valid question. And they're going to say, blah, 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 blah. I don't know. That's the only thing they can say. Are you sure that's not green screen? Well, no. Were you there when this photograph was taken? No. I mean, that's just the first three that come to mind. But if the CRA is going to make an accusation that you were in Texas or Florida or Colombia or Rio de Janeiro or anywhere else, they'd better have some evidence, because if they're going to be on the stand, which they won't because they don't sue people, they can get grilled by your lawyer. All right, there you are. And it wouldn't make a difference, cutie, about the passport lining up with anything, because if they don't acquire that information with a court order, they cannot use it in court as evidence. That's the problem with the CRA. They always skip the court order. They cannot use these things as evidence if they don't get a court order or a warrant for it. All right? Protect yourself. Know the law.
So as you can see, the CRA has more tools than ever to track your movement, your money, and your ties, and know if you left the country or not. How does the government know?
All right. So sure, the CRA knows a little bit about your life, but I mean, it's not like if you don't tell them that they're going to know. So I have to stress this guy here, again, this was not to humiliate this individual. I don't know him. I've been chatting with him a little bit in text. I'd like to actually work with him because he's not dumb. Some of what he said is absolutely correct. He's just left out the human rights part, and he's left out the constitutional rights part, and he's left out the Charter of Rights and Freedoms part. You do have quite a few freedoms for now that the Liberal Party has got their last floor crosser. Lord knows what Mark Carney is going to do. It won't be good, I promise you that. But nonetheless, you still have some rights. And while those rights are in play, you should exercise all of them. Absolutely all of them. All right, everyone. So my presentation has now concluded. It's time for Q&A. We got like an hour and 10 minutes of Q&A tonight. Check that out. Let me go over to the YouTube room right now. All right. What are my thoughts on Belize IBC? My thoughts on Belize are it's an incredibly poor country that none of the financial strategies they put in place have made them any money at all. I wouldn't spend more than a couple of weeks in Belize. The only reason I'm going to Belize is a friend of mine lives there right now. I'm going to go see it and I'll be done with it. So I don't think much of it. What is the echo on the video? I thought that I solved this problem. I think with the problem here, you can see like this here, this is soundproofing on the wall. I got a lot of it up on the ceiling here. The problem is this is my new office, everybody. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I got 10 windows facing the downtown core here. So I think I'm going to have to find some better solution to soundproofing. I'm going to probably have to soundproof these windows. In fact, that's a really good point. Let me draw the blinds here and see if that helps. Hey, Chris. Let's see here. Because glass, everybody, glass is a terrible reflector of sound. All right, let's see if this works. I'll get all of you to tell me right now if that sounds any better. Is that any better, everybody? Let me know, please, in the comments if you don't mind. Guys, the other problem is, and this is me just telling you the truth here, I've been so busy working on tax stuff that I just have not gone out and bought a new microphone yet. This microphone here, it's an Audio Technica. It has served me well for the last 10 years, but it's time for something new where the microphone's right here so I can do that deep radio voice. It's Kevin J Johnston. I got to do that. And I do apologize. I simply don't have a microphone for the phone. I will solve these audio problems for next week's show. I'm also raspy tonight. I did lose my voice a bit earlier today. Yeah. The technology problems just never end. All right, shooting over to the Rumble room right now. Does a Panama corporation work similar to a Canadian corporation in the sense of not reporting income? I absolutely love the visit in Panama City. I want to go back. I was correct on everything. Yeah, a Panamanian corporation protects you from everything here. And that's the best part of it. Not only that, but Panamanian law states that as soon as you have something in the country that is on a deed, if you have anything on a deed at all, you are absolutely 100% protected. You're guaranteed not to lose it because the courts don't take property from people here. Deeded property in Panama, along with your corporation, they're very well protected. The property rights in Panama are solid, man. It's a great place. Alrighty. How can I open a bank account in the USA and then put that into a corporation? Scott, you would actually open a corporation first in the United States. Try Wyoming. And then you would turn around and get yourself a bank account for that corporation afterwards. All right, there we go. You check the rest of the Rumble room here. Hi, Kevin. CRA reassessed my 2023 personal tax year. We filed for refunds. Now they're saying I owe even more money. Can we get those files resent? Of course. So first off, we have to object to that. It's free to object. And whilst that objection is in there, you don't owe any tax dollars. So we then have to redo your taxes and resubmit those taxes. Not much of a difference, but enough. All right, there we go. Moving on here. Dawn is asking, how do you open up a corporation? I can open a corporation for you in Panama, in the United States, although there's no profit in that, so I don't do it there. And in Canada, any of the 10 provinces is not a problem to do. Can I sell my home in Canada and move to Panama? I'm being serious. Well, yeah, I liquidated almost everything I had in Canada. Like, it really hurt to sell my custom golf clubs. God, man, that was the only thing I almost cried about because those clubs were, God, they were so phenomenal. But I sold everything and I left the country. You can do the exact same thing. Careful now. Here's one of the big problems in Canada. When you sell your house in Canada and you're using a lawyer to hold your funds in trust, You're actually giving the lawyer your money. He can do what he wants with it at that point. He's not obligated to actually even give it to you. And the big thing with lawyers now is that they are doing due diligence on you. They're supposed to protect you, but they're doing due diligence on you. And if they find any liens on your property, they just pay them. They just take your money and give it away. I don't do that. So what we need to do is, if you're going to sell your house in Canada, you make sure that your funds go into my private trust company. I'm not bound by the law society of any province in the country. And then from there, I will transfer it directly to Panama for you. And it's all done through lawyers. Is it difficult? No, it's a little time consuming, but that's what I do for a living, folks, is I get people's money moved to the United States, to Panama, to Colombia, to Grenada, and anywhere else that it is required to be moved to that I have contacts in. Like, I can't get your money moved to Poland or Russia. I have no contacts there. But here in Latin America, believe me, gringo have money. They know that, and they want gringos' money here. Sunshine Barbs, will I return to Canada? Not until the left-wing nuts just are no longer in power. The left-wingism is something I can't handle it. I don't want to be around it. It is so negative. The amount of energy that the left-wing folks will put into their negativity is unbelievable. If they put 1/10 of their negativity into a positive outcome for themselves, everybody in Canada would be a billionaire. Canadians will spend more time sabotaging someone they don't like than building up their own lives. I don't want to be a part of that anymore. I can't be. It's draining. So probably a while. Probably a while. Sunshine, no problem. How about Trump? What about him? I've never met him. Yeah. Is there more to that question? Is it beneficial to send money to Portugal? I have a family member that lives in Portugal now, and they're having a very difficult time because in small town Portugal, and I'm only repeating what I was told. I've never been, so I don't know. But in small town Portugal, they have an extreme lack of patience for those who do not speak Portuguese. There's a lot of prejudice, and that's fine because it's their country. So it's very difficult to find work in Portugal, unfortunately. I would never invest in a country where it's difficult to work. It's incredibly easy to work in Panama, so all my money is here. Okay. Dan says, I love your attitude, not enough of your kind left. I wish there was more of me around. I mean, I'd love to sit back and have a conversation with guys like myself who understand, philosophically speaking, especially, that every single thing that we're up against in the modern world is arbitrary nonsense. It's just something that somebody made up at some point. It became status quo, and the sheep accepted it as the law. I would love to speak to people who are more in tune with all of that. I'd like to speak to more people out there who are absolutely fascinated by the fact that the Americans are teleporting one electron at a time. That's remarkable stuff. Canada was working on that, by the way. Canada was working on capturing neutrinos to understand what the speed of light and what the quantum realm was all about, and we just stopped funding it all. We gave up on everything. Canada has absolutely no say in, or no capacity to shape the future of science anymore. Not a single solitary one, because we just don't fund anything in the country. And a lot of Canadians think, yeah, you know, it's good. Like, let's watch the Leafs because somehow hockey matters. What's that? Quantum mechanics? That doesn't matter. Oh, man, I would love to talk to people who have philosophical viewpoints on quantum mechanics. I wish there was more of me out there. There aren't, guys, unfortunately. Can anybody fly down here and book a meeting with me? Yeah, you can book it on my website. Absolutely. It's $2,000 US to sit with me for 2 hours, and we'll discuss whatever you want. Absolutely, it is. I'd love to do that. I'm also going to start having seminars down here, which will be considerably cheaper because it'll be a group environment. I will keep everybody posted on that. Okay. Can you contest the municipal tax on the school board if you don't have any kids? It's been tried. It's failed every single time. But you can file small claims lawsuits that they will probably settle for the amount of the tax you pay. So if you sue a city for 10 grand for misappropriating your funds into schools you have nothing to do with, they might cut you a check for $1,000 just to have the lawsuit go away. Now, it's called a nuisance lawsuit. Every time I sue the bank in Canada, they cut me a check for about $5,000-6,000 just because they don't feel like dealing with it. And they don't send a lawyer. They send some junior grade student out to take care of all the signings. It's actually pretty cool. What does it cost on average for your services? Well, I'll just tell you bluntly. It's $950 per tax year for personal tax, up to $1,500 depending on complexity. If it's really complex, it'll be $1,950 per tax year. If you have basic corporate income, basic corporate returns, it's $2,450. If you got really complex stuff, can be as high as $10,000 per tax year, but no one's ever gotten that high, except for one guy who was really complex. And we told him, honestly, saying, dude, you're going to spend like $60,000 for us getting your taxes done. It's cheaper to sell me the corporation and walk away from all your debt. So the cool part about working with me is I love money, but I'm not going to lie to you and say, hey, the only solution is give me $60,000 for your taxes. If I'm looking at your taxes and I think that they are a complete wreck and I can't fix them for a decent amount of money, I'm just going to buy your company from you, get you into a brand new one, and start you over tax-free. There you go. So that should help you out. Do I have to inform about an address change? Is that legal? Well, no. It's just that if you want mail to arrive, you would tell them a different address. You're allowed to use post office boxes. That's what they're there for. So you don't have to tell them where you live. I left Costa Rica for Panama. Oh, yeah. Costa Rica is horrendously expensive. It's a third world country with New York City pricing on everything. No, thank you. I'd had enough. Let me give you an example. I have a gym membership here in Panama. It costs me $24 a month. I can go to any of their outlets anywhere in the world. And they've actually got gyms in like 5 countries right now. I just flash it and I'm in. In Costa Rica, this gymnasium I went to, it was $95 or $90 US a month. I could only go from 6 a.m. until noon. At noon, they would shut down for 4 hours so the staff could work out. And then they were open again from 4 until 9. That's how Costa Ricans think. And then for Christmas, they shut down for 2.5 weeks, but still wanted the full amount. That's how Costa Rica functions. No effing way am I putting up with that nonsense ever. I left Costa Rica. I was lied to by everybody who was selling real estate there. I was lied to by every businessman there. I was lied to by everybody who ever been there. It's not a good place to be, period. Panama is so amazing. I've been here 2 full years and I'm staying. This country's been great to me. Okay, just checking your questions here. Dan, if a guy is a sole proprietor making $250,000 a year, your taxes are insane. 2 reasons. You're not in a corporation. And number 2 is I'm not your tax guy. You got to jump on my website and make me your tax guy. And then you're going to find out that sole proprietorship makes no money and you pay no tax. No money on paper, that is. What are my thoughts on living in Mexico? I'm not going to belittle Mexico. Not yet, anyway. I hate the fact that they've got an extremely far-left maniac president right now. That bothers me immensely. I tried to do business there, and I found that the locals they're full of crap. Everything that came out of the locals' mouths was bullshit. It really was. I'm not going to do business in Mexico unless I'm dealing directly with the gringos who have already learned the ropes in Mexico. But I don't see the advantage to Mexico beyond one thing, and that is it's a considerably larger landmass than Panama is. So let's just say, for argument's sake, there was another pandemic. I would have more freedom to move around just to a bigger piece of land in Mexico than in Panama. But ultimately speaking, I'm a businessman, so I rarely even leave Panama City. I'm almost always in town here. I mean, I've been outside the city 36 times, maybe. It's all about the money for me. So to me, that doesn't make a difference. You got to be careful where you're buying land because everything is skyrocketing in price right now, just like Costa Rica did. Everything skyrocketed to ridiculous proportions. And there's not a single solitary piece of property that I saw in Costa Rica that was worth even 1/10 what they were selling it for. It's all just crappy, useless concrete block construction with no insulation at all. Just concrete block. It's crap. I could build a concrete block house in Ontario for what? $30,000? I'm not giving any Costa Rican 500 grand for a piece of crap house. Not now and not ever. And if you don't go to Costa Rica with at least $700,000 US in your pocket, you're never going to survive. Costa Rica will strip you of all that money in 3 years. That's a promise. 700 grand US in Panama will last you the rest of your life. What about crypto tax? I bought it when I was young and didn't know the rules. I didn't pay anything last 6 to 7 years. You should shut the F up about your crypto. They don't know. Unless you're on a Canadian exchange, like if you're storing your money in WonderFi, like Kevin O'Leary's places, I think Coinberry, they're out of business now. Or no, they were absorbed by BitBuy. Stay away from Canadian exchanges. They share everything with the CRA. If you need to store it in a custodial wallet, crypto.com, Binance, any of those are fine. But you should have the vast majority of your crypto on a hard wallet and shut up about it. Do not talk to the CRA about your crypto. Why would you do that? The whole reason you want to be in crypto is that no one knows about it. Be silent. Real estate is booming in Jamaica. Should I invest? Well, I've got my thoughts on Jamaica. Well, first, I guess the only real advantage in Jamaica is that you never pay property tax. You actually truly own your land. The problem with Jamaica is that every single time the leadership changes, the entire culture changes. And I'm talking about the violence culture. That's what I'm talking about. Kingston is not a place I would ever go. Jamaica is extremely hot, subject to hurricanes, and subject to a lot of gang activity. I wouldn't invest in Jamaica. Not now and really not ever. That's just a personal opinion, though. Can a corporation buy a luxury vehicle and depreciate fully, not just 40K? Well, hold on. A corporation could buy a Rolls Royce. What are they worth now? $2 million? And you can immediately sell it to another corporation for $1 and take the capital loss. You could do that. The corporation that buys it for $1 can in turn sell it back to the first corporation for $2. And you still get the capital loss. Isn't that amazing? You could do that. Absolutely. Dad passed away and left his RIF to your sister, yourself, and your mother instead of just to mom. All right, so we got to make sure that the estate is not taxed. If it's recent, please do not tell the CRA about the passing of anybody in your family. Let me be your tax guy. Let me get everything out of your father's estate that we possibly can. We don't do the dead person's taxes for 3 years after death. So the CRA is always in the dark. That's the way it has to be. I have it all on my hard wallet, but I interacted with the Canadian exchanges. Okay, just keep it on the hard wallet and you're fine. Just be silent about your crypto. Relax. Hey, Hal, good to see you again. Okay, there we go. Let me check the YouTube room, everybody. All right, so someone is saying that they're going to be at the Coca-Cola Cafe at 10 a.m. I'm going to be at my office at 10 a.m., man. I wish I'd known. But what's tomorrow? Wednesday? You know what? Hit the website up. There might actually be an opportunity to meet myself and a couple of others down here. Go to my website. Anybody who's in Panama right now that wants to meet, you got to do it through my website. Talk to my guy there in the contact form. Okay. Hey, everyone. Chris, my coder, he's not as good looking as I am. Right? Is that right? He disagrees. He just got a whole bunch of brand new consultations open on the website. Isn't that amazing? I told you, I got the best team in the world. So if you're looking for consultations, we're no longer sold out. Get in there, grab your consultation right away. Okay. Yeah, so the Echo, yeah. All right. Once I pulled the drapes on all the windows here, the echo seemed to just completely disappear. So that's the problem, everybody, is the glass. Ay, ay, ay. As they say here in Panama. Ay, Jalavida. All right, everyone, let's keep going here. Okay. She theory. Okay, hold on. She theory. If a corporation buys a Rolls Royce for $2 million, it will depreciate the second it leaves the lot. You sell it for $1. That's a capital loss of $1,999,999.99. It's capital loss. Same idea when you buy office furniture. If you buy $500,000 in office furniture, turn around and sell it to another company for $1, that's a major capital loss. Huge capital loss. So there's no capital gain when you've just taken on a capital loss. A corporation purchasing property, that's not a capital gain. The capital gain is on the profit of the sale. All right. So the second corporation in my example would be making a capital gain of $1. Okay. What would that be? Not even worth reporting. If I have previously filed taxes for my corporation and I owe corporate tax, do I still have to pay it? If you owe a lot of money, and I mean a lot of money, you got to make sure that you sell me your corporation. I'll take all the debt off your hands. That's what I do, everybody. By the way, everyone, I noticed that right here, we only have 11,000 likes. Let's get everyone 2 fingers. Come on, double finger, just rapid fire. Let's get the hearts going here. The more likes we have, the more people are going to find out about this show, and the more people are never going to pay tax again. All right, let's check out more of your questions here. Is it legal for the government to force you to pay $500K to work outside of Canada? Guys, that was just a suggestion that was made by a former Google CEO or whatever the hell he was. It's not even been tabled as a law. Don't blow things out of proportion. No, it's not legal. That's number one. But don't blow things out of proportion, everybody. Someone shot their mouth off who's famous, and everybody went, oh my God, $500,000. No, come on. The legislative process means that would have to be entered as a bill. It's not even been written as a bill yet. All right. Some jerk with a microphone, blah, 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 $500,000, and all of you went ballistic. Let's be a bit more realistic if we could, please. Okay. Let's have a look here at the Rumble room. Question. If you send out proper info on how to communicate to potential clients for you as referrals, I've got a lot of wealthy friends at the gym. All right. So Fit Chick. If you want to do sales for me, I need to set you up with an actual sales rep ID and a QR code. Get a hold of me immediately on the contact form on my website. Please put Fit Chick in the actual subject line. I'll know who you are, and we'll get you that code so you can go out there and start selling. Because guys, ladies and gentlemen, you should all be my sales reps. I pay the craziest, highest commissions in Canada for new business. Let's get cracking on that. Okay, here we go. If I buy the company, what happens to the personal part of things that needs to be filed? Well, if I buy your corporation, that's where it ends. There's nothing personal you've got to file. I have to file all the legal paperwork with the province and or the country, and to let them know that you're no longer the owner and I am. That's what that's all about. So I'm not sure I understand the question. Try again, please. Word it differently. And under 100 says, hey, Canadians, you got to love this guy. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. All right. So if anybody who wants to immediately speak to me, I told you, my guy just opened up a whole bunch of consultations. There's a whole bunch of consultations available right now for you to grab. So grab yourself a consultation with me and let's get rocking here. Go right ahead. What about salaried employees? Is it possible to save on tax? Yep. Medical expenses, caregiver expenses. There's something called the T2125 form. So let's just say, for example, you have a part-time job. Here we go. You've got a part-time job picking noses for people. All right. You get an artificial fingernail right here with a good scoop shape on the end. Whatever the esthetician charges you for that fingernail, you can write that off. Now, here's the cool part. All right. Check this out. You get a fingernail put on. What is it going to be? Like $7-8? You can then state through a corporation that fingernail is worth $140,000. And now you have $140,000 personal write-off in your T2125 form. So even though you're picking noses and getting $5 a nose for it, you get this massive $140,000 write-off because the fingernail scoop is worth that much according to the corporation that just sold it back to you. Ta-da, you don't pay tax. Yeah, I am that good. I can have a professional nose picker never pay tax. I could assign any of you as professional nose pickers and you're never going to pay tax, okay? It's all arbitrary paperwork. It's nonsense. So long as you know the law, so long as I comply with the Criminal Code of Canada, which I do, I could write anything off, anything at all. Under 100, would you buy my shares in a family-owned company or would you buy the whole thing? No, I got to take the whole thing over. I mean, look, hold on, that's actually a good question. Let me rephrase that. This was proposed to me already once, where one guy was a 50% shareholder in a corporation that has a ton, like $4 million in debt. And he wanted to get away from it. And his brother said, no, man, we can work this out. Anybody who thinks they can get out of $4 million in debt is high as a kite. Question what drugs he's on. So he said to me that he'd like to sell me all of his shares, to which I would buy them at, nothing, maybe $1.50 or something, like not per share for the whole amount. And let the brother know that I now own the shares and I'm just going to go ahead and walk away from the debt. You're on your own. Maybe the brother would sell theirs. So there is some viability in me taking a part of a company in order to force the other ones to sell, but it's not very profitable to do it that way. Not for you, not for me, not for them. It's better to just get everyone to realize we cannot pay this corporate debt. Sell me the entire corporation. You get to walk away from all the corporate debt right there on the spot. And what happens when they audit? What happens if they audit the fingernail worth $140,000? We tell the auditor, thank you for the opportunity to have an audit done. We respectfully decline. And then I send off a no trespassing notice. They cannot come to your office or your home or talk to your staff or talk to you anymore. We cancel the audit and then we do the audit for them, which is just us doing your taxes for them. That's it. What's the $140,000 fingernail all about? Well, we're not going to tell them it's a fingernail. We're just going to tell them that it's a marketing expense. What about Airbnb income, which is under my personal name? That's where the T2125 form comes in. If you run an Airbnb, I am going to write off every single solitary expense that your home or your condo or your cottage has. And I mean every expense, no matter what it is. The water bill, the hydro bill, the internet bill, the restocking fees of your refrigerator, everything. So when you have an Airbnb and you're a client of mine, believe me when I say this, you are not paying a penny of Airbnb income tax, period. Because I'm the best there is. I'm not afraid of the CRA. They're afraid of me. And believe me, I hate the CRA more than any human being alive. You're hiring my hate. Do that. It's good for you. Gigi is asking, wait, you can decline an audit? Yeah. You have the right to remain silent. You do not have to cooperate with anyone. The CRA are not cops. They're losers. That's all they are. They're just collection agents. They work for a collection agency. That's all. Someone says, I'm some person you don't know. I'm going to walk into your house and look at your books and your files. Like, I dare any CRA representative to walk into my office. They are not going to like the reaction that they get, period. Especially considering the fact that I'm in a country where I can put 3 or 4 shells in you if you break into my place, if you know what I mean. So I don't recommend you do that, by the way, anyone. I'm just saying that I would do it here because I'm in a country that allows it. And this country is great that way. But Canada, if a CRA rep comes to your front door, what do? Get off my property now. If they don't leave, call 911. I've got some nutcase on my front porch. They're trying to break into my house, which they are trying to do. They've got a briefcase. I don't know if there's weapons in there, but I think this guy's here to kill me. Like just screaming on the phone. Yeah, the cops will be there in a second. You say weapons, the cops are there. It's just how it is. Don't put up with people's crap. Period. Collection agency people are losers. They're doing a crap job. Auditors have no authority. They're just losers like collection agents. There you go. They're nothing and nobody. Hi, I've got a small company as a sole proprietorship. My earnings are around $250 a year. Do I pay taxes? Well, if I'm your tax guy, no. If H&R Block is your tax guy, hell yes, you do. Do you have to prove that you are profitable eventually? Otherwise, they can deny your expenses. They can deny your expenses anytime. But yes, it is a good question because the CRA will call you. Let's say you lose money for 7 years. Hey, is this business going to make money soon? Oh, yeah, you're going to lie. Yeah, man, I just got this solid $40 million contract, man. But damn. Oh, well, that's great. Thank you. And then just whatever. You lose money again. Just lie. They lie to us. Lie to them. A no trespass notice didn't override federal. They're not cops, man. They're not the RCMP. And even the RCMP needs a warrant to get into your house. No, they work for a federal agency, but they're just losers. That's all they are. No, some loser wants to walk in your house? Get rid of them. I heard it's a felony if I don't pay taxes, and they'll put you in jail. First off, felony, that's an American term. The Canadian equivalent term is called indictable offense. No, it's not an indictable offense to not pay tax. I haven't paid tax in 26 years, right? They haven't even tried to charge me. They have not even made a phone call saying, pay your taxes. Not one. No, you do not go to prison time for owing money in Canada. There's no such thing as debtor's prison in Canada. If you owe money, too bad for the person you owe it to. All right, let me check the Rumble room again here. Rumble, what do we got? Hi, Kevin. As a client, do I have a life income fund that is locked similar to an RSP? How do I unlock the full amount? Can I easily move that to Panama? All right, here's the deal, everybody. I know exactly how to get an RSP, 100% of all your RSP money out of your RSP. You know what the problem is? All the brokerage houses in Canada are cowards. They actually think the CRA are cops. It's bizarre. The CRA cannot stop any brokerage house whatsoever from canceling your RSP, but they all say the same thing. The CRA says we have to give 30% tax. Yeah. Now, the CRA says a lot of things, right? None of them are true. You don't have to do that. So that's the only problem that we're having here, folks, is the brokers are all cowards. We will eventually find someone who's not a coward. We'll get there. Once I sell my company, do I close my bank accounts or do I set up? Okay, when you're selling me a corporation, we have to comply with Section 160 of the Income Tax Act, which means we have to make sure that we are in the midst of an in good faith transaction. So what that means, everybody, is that I have to take over your GST number, your PST number, your HST number, your bank account, and the entire corporation, including all your shares. That way I get all of your debts. So sell me the company. I'm the one who will close the bank accounts down unless I specifically tell you otherwise. There you go, everyone. So sell me your corporation, walk away from all of your debt, including bank loans. All right. Rob, when starting up a new corporation, do I take my name off the director? Yeah. When you register a corporation, You're going to be the director for a couple of days. Get bank accounts, plural. Remove yourself as director. Never be the director of a corporation. The director is the gimp who gets stuck with the bill. If you're not the director, but you are the shareholder, you control everything and you are liable for nothing. All right. That's how that works. My kid earned on a T4 about $12,000 last year. He says he's doing his own taxes. He's under the threshold. It's like $16,500. Anything under that threshold, you don't pay tax on. So if he's doing his own taxes and he does them right, he'll get back everything that he paid in tax. Why do the employers pay taxes to the CRA from the employees? Because they're gutless cowards. That's why. Because they just don't know the law and they don't want to learn the law. They, like every other sheep out there, have decided, oh, the status quo must be real because my father did it, so it has to be that way. My parents were like that when they were alive. No, all my coworkers, they pay tax, so I have to do it too. And then they would say to me as a kid, why'd you throw that egg at that car? Oh, well, because Wayne did. And if Wayne jumped off a bridge, would you jump off a bridge? They would say that. So I would ask them the same question when I got a bit older. So just because all the neighbors pay tax, you do too? I mean, if that neighbor over there jumped off a bridge, would you do it too? They didn't like that very much, but that's exactly how it sounded to me. Just because everybody else pays tax and just because everybody else deducts tax from their employees doesn't mean you have to do it. Period. Employers who pull taxes from people, they're shitheads. They really are. I've got no other way to word that. Jerks, cowards. Don't work for a coward. As a realtor in Ontario, for me to keep trading, I can only do a PREC corporate structure. Well, actually, we've looked into this one. The PREC, we actually just kind of cooked this up in the last month, which is why I'm laughing. PREC means Personal Real Estate Corporation. RECO, the Real Estate Commission of Ontario, says that anybody who's a licensed real estate agent has to have a personal real estate corporation. First off, RECO is a private company. They are a private corporation. You don't have a license. You have a membership like a gym. Now, that's how that works. Number two, who cares what they say? Why would you want to be licensed anyway? That's retarded. Why? You don't need to be licensed anything to sell a house. You really don't. You can just sell a house. You can work with any brokerage you want, period. Now, the Personal Real Estate Corporation, that's not the law. That's the guidelines issued by RECO, which are a company policy. But you don't work for RECO. So who cares what their policies are? If you are a real estate agent in the province of Ontario and the brokerage that you work for says get a PREC, fine. So what you do is you get a personal real estate corporation. You then remove yourself as director. We get you a corporation over top of it, and this corporation up top becomes the director of your PREC. So they're going to issue T4 statements to your PREC. T4A statements, which I think is ludicrous. It's a corporation. Why are you getting T4A statements on that? It's because they want to attach that to your social insurance number. But if you're not the director of the corporation that owns your PREC, tax problem solved. And everyone says, well, RECO, though, is not going to like it if you're not the director. What are you going to do? Call them up? Hi, RECO, I just took myself off the directorship of this stupid PREC that I don't want. Punish me. Don't do that. Let the brokerage house issue the T4A if they want to, and then you come to me as your tax guy, and you're not going to pay any tax. But if the brokerage house wants to actually hold back your taxes, then you got to tell them, you're not doing that. I won't be working for you with a PREC. I'm going to go ahead and just give you this numbered corporation that I'm a member of, and you're going to pay it. It's that simple. Why are all of you asking permission? You make demands. You walk in the room like you own the place. Here's the corporation you're cutting invoices to. It is that simple. No, we have to. Boom, the fist goes down. I'm not asking. Why don't you people talk like that? You know, I'll never forget. I'm not going to give you the guy's name because we kind of worked it out, kind of. But what I'm going to tell you is this. I had a guy, and it was a very interesting employment situation where he told me that I was going to move from the office that I was in down to the other end, and I was going to train a couple of his staff, new staff. And I just yelled out, "I don't think so!" And he just backed off. I'm not leaving this office, and I'm not training any of your newbies because I don't make money training your newbies. Half of my salary is commission. Get the F out of my office now. And that was the end of the conversation. Of course, he was a wimp, and he went and complained to the owner. "Kevin yelled at me." And I went into the owner's office and said, "Hey, this guy's telling me I got to move my stuff to a different office, and I got to train his subordinates?" I just walked out of the office. I didn't even wait for an answer. All of you out there need to get angry when people are telling you what to do. And you need to react with that crazy look on your face and let them know, no, it's not going to be that way. It's going to be my way. The problem with you Canadians is you don't do that. You are just waiting for someone to tell you what to do. And then you do it. And then you complain to whoever's going to listen. "Guys, you told me to pick up my laptop and go to the other office." Just stop the problems right there in their tracks. God, people, come on. It's really not that difficult to do. So as for this PREC nonsense, do what I said and you'll make a lot more money, everybody. Thank you for the rose, by the way. Greatly appreciate that. Yes, everybody. This is my only official TikTok account. All right. I do not ask for money through TikTok, through Signal, through WhatsApp, and through what's the other one? Telegram. I don't do that. If you're talking to Kevin J Johnston on WhatsApp, it's not me because I do not make my WhatsApp number public. If I did, I would never sleep again. It ain't me. Don't give money to anybody online. Do it through my website only. Thank you, Marco. I appreciate that. Only through my website. Bookham says, if you file company taxes, the company will save taxes, but do the employees save on taxes? Well, that would depend on how you want to run your company. Thank you, KM. I appreciate that. If you're going to be running your company where you don't want your staff to pay tax, let me know. And I'll structure your corporation so that nobody pays tax. I'm the only guy in the country that speaks like this. I'm the only guy in the country that tells you the truth. My God, it's really not that hard. You know, the worst part is CPAs know what I know. They're too afraid to do it. I don't want backlash. I'm not going to lose my license. The CRA has no power to pull a license. And let's go back to this license crap. If you are a CPA in any province, you have a membership. It's a private company that issues the membership. Any of you watching right now could create your own governing body. You could compete with RICO. You could compete with any of the chartered professional accountant associations anywhere in the country. You can compete. It's an open market. You do not have a license if you are a CPA. You have a membership. Get that into your friggin' heads. Right? It's all arbitrary crap. And nobody can say you can't do taxes. Nobody can say that to you. Can I change my monthly rental property into a VRBO and claim everything? Yes. However, do it my way. Corporation A owns the property. Corporation A is a holding company. It does not declare tax. Corporation B signs a contract with Corporation A. Corporation A licenses Corporation B for $1 for 1,000 years to be the rent collector for Corporation A. This corporation here cuts all the invoices, pays this company $1, and all the rent goes into this company, this one here, which does the taxes. This one here never does taxes. It's never going to have a tax bill. Never put a company into a corporation that you're doing business with, ever. Because if you owe tax, they can chase the corporations. Some people are so friggin' stupid that they will put their personal residences into a corporation because that's what I heard you're supposed to do. But then they do business out of the same corporation and they can't figure out why there's liens on their property. Think, man. Think. Yeah, Jason makes a really good point. Canadians, we say sorry and ask for a Tim's coffee. Yeah, you're right. A Canadian gets punched in the face by a burglar and apologizes for bleeding on the burglar's hand. Stop apologizing. What are you so sorry about? Start yelling. Start getting angry. Start getting even. That's what you do. If I only have T4 slips and T5 slips, how can I decrease the amount of taxes I pay? First off, never let anybody put you on a T5. Ever. That's dividend. That's dividend income. The problem with dividend income is the Income Tax Act is so poorly written about dividends, the CRA is charging people up to 48% on dividends. Why would you do that? If you're going to take a dividend, shut up about it. Don't let anybody issue a T5. Ever. But how? Is the T2125 form that I talked about earlier in the show. Okay, so the KJM, I had to go bankrupt, but I think it was okay. It helped a lot. Okay, bankruptcy, everybody, can help, but it's always the absolute last option that we will turn to. There are so many other ways to delay creditors or to just get rid of them. There are times where I have just irritated creditors to the point where they gave up. You know, like we have robot software that calls them 24 hours a day, robot software that faxes them 24 hours a day, bots out of Russia that will email them 24 hours a day saying, hey, listen, no problem. Let's make a deal. All right. Like I'm literally allowed to call you 10,000 times to make a deal to pay a bill. Yeah. There's all kinds of ways to get rid of creditors. Bankruptcy is the last one that you go to, period. I did go bankrupt once, and it was a huge relief. But I only went bankrupt because there was absolutely no other options available at that time. None. So bankruptcy last. Everyone goes to bankruptcy first, especially trustees, because trustees do not work for you. They work for your creditors. They get paid by you and the government, and they lie to you about the fact that they're protecting you. A trustee will screw you. So bankruptcy is last. But sometimes it is the best solution. Not often, but sometimes. BB, I had to step away. CRA put a writ on my properties and now I can't sell. Okay, so hold on. A writ of execution is against you, the individual human being, not your property. But what we would do is redo your taxes for all the tax years that they say that you owe tax money on. Set that to zero and the writ goes away. It is that simple. CPAs won't tell you that though, because they're afraid of the CRA. Robert, I have money held in a trading account in the United States. Would I set up in the USA or Panama? If your money's in the USA in a corporation, it's already safe from the CRA. Panama just makes it a little safer, but Panama and the United States are not going to do what the CRA says. I can promise you that. The CRA have no jurisdiction internationally. They also have no jurisdiction in Canada because they are not a judiciary. They're just a collection agency hiring 60,000 losers to pester you. What steps to take if I'm being garnished for not filling in years? I do your taxes and I set them to the lowest possible amount and the garnishment order goes away. You also can sue your employer for tort theft. Yeah, your employer is a coward. The CRA always says, if you don't garnish wages, we may hold you accountable. So a real man would say, how dare you tell me I have to give money to you without a court order? Go get a court order. Do not contact me again until you have a court order signed by a judge in court, the superior court, not some loser JP, but a judge. That's all you have to do. But employers, you cowards, you steal from your staff. You give money to the CRA. I don't want to be held accountable. Umfufu and Ooga Booga and all these other people that don't speak English say that I have to give you money. And I just got a letter that says it. And those letters could be sent in with a link to a scam website. And you'll probably pay it because you're that afraid. That's the thing with reputation. The CRA's got a reputation that's completely unearned. They don't just take your money. You give it to them willingly. Okay. Oh, yeah. Everyone, yes. Fakes are messaging you right now. I am not messaging any of you during this live transaction at all. None. If anyone is messaging you right now on this live TikTok, it's a scammer. How do we prove this is really me? Come on, scammers. Get your AI to do this. Go on. Hey, scammers, drink water. Hey, come on, scammers. Hold up the mouse. Remember this?
That was easy.
There you go. Come on, scammers. Don't talk to anybody at all using my name during this live broadcast. Do not talk to anyone through TikTok at all. It's not me unless you're on this account, Real Kevin J Johnston. Go to my website, kevinjjohnston.com, and do business with me there. I will never ask for money through TikTok, Instagram, Minds.com, Signal, WhatsApp, or what's the other one there? Telegram. I don't do business through those platforms. All right? Stop. Thank you for pointing that out. Mike says, my dad has 5 properties and I want to limit capital gains when we sell. We got to move all of those properties into individual numbered corporations. What you do is you sell the corporations and the property goes with it. If the person doesn't want the corporation and they want to buy it out of the corporation, no problem. Let them know they're going to pay all the legal fees, and then you sell me that corporation and I take over the capital gain. Or if your dad's got all those properties in his personal name and doesn't understand the concept I am proposing of putting everything into numbered corporations, fine. Let's transfer a capital loss. I've got over $500 million in capital losses. I could transfer as much as you need to your father's taxes, because a capital loss carries forward for the rest of your father's life, everybody. If anyone has a capital gain they think they're going to have this year, let me sell you a capital loss immediately to offset that, because capital losses stay with you forever. There you go. Engine Room says this is a lot of information to digest. It is. My show is full of information like this. Everything I'm saying is a ton to digest, everybody. I get that. Do I have to report crypto? F no. Absolutely not. Don't ever do it. Period. I am absolutely the biggest enemy to the CRA. I despise those people. I do not view them as human beings. I view them as refuse. Refuse goes in the garbage pail. That's where they all belong. How do you make use of the refundable dividend tax on a hand amount if you are on file? Refundable dividend tax? All I would do is cancel the T5s, and there wouldn't be a dividend in the first place. So I'm not entirely sure what you're getting at here. Could you rephrase the question, please? Okay, so Saxum says $80,000 in income. You owe $2,100. Could you rephrase the question, please? I'm not following what you're saying there. Thank you. You have to look at the likes on the channel. Yeah, guys, let me just do a quick check for you right now to make sure you're on the correct Instagram channel, mine. Currently, I'm following 51 people. Really? Who am I following? Okay, anyway, I'm following 50. Oh, I know there's a guy that does voice impressions. I just started following both of his channels. Okay, cool. So I'm following 51 people. I have 96,900 followers currently and 647,000 likes. My bio reads, Canada's #1 tax and financial expert, period. Never pay tax again, period. My tax strategies are the best in the nation, period. Followed by kevinjjohnston.com. All right. That's my official one currently. I don't even know who I'm following. I should probably look at who I'm following and say hello. I probably should. All right. So now you know that you should not be talking to anybody on any other channel except for this one. Okay. Thanks, Jason. I appreciate the roses. Thank you very much. Mercer says, hey, I just had a collection call late last week saying I owe $100,000 from 2022. You're a sole proprietor. I got to fix your taxes, man. Get yourself a consultation on my website right now. Let's get that done. Do I think it's okay the CRA sending tax money to the Ukraine? No, I don't think it's okay that a penny of Canadian money goes anywhere else in the world, period. It's our country, it's our money, but the Liberal government wants to give it away. Actually, they're not giving it away because they care about human beings. They're laundering it through all of these fake schemes. That's what they're doing. If you send $1 billion to the Ukraine, you're probably getting a commission of $100 million. The Liberal Party is getting very, very rich. The individual people are off of our tax dollars. That's why you should not be paying tax in Canada, everybody. How do you get along with a company that's in debt? Ancient the Chinese is secret. You come to me and I get it for you. That's how we do it. If the province says you owe parking tickets and will take it away from your taxes, could you clarify that one a bit more for me, please? What if you don't have two corporations? How do you depreciate the luxury? First off, don't buy luxury vehicles. What's the point? Every new car has got GPS chips in them, and they actually communicate with all of these little data collectors all over the place. Buy cars from like 2002 backwards. That's what you should be doing. I'm not a fan of luxury cars at all. I want nothing to do with owning a Rolls Royce. What would I do with it? I am more like, a 69 Chevelle. Give me a 72 Barracuda. How about a Shelby? Give me something like that. Give me a GT300. Get me real cars. Get me a big fat muscle car that has no computers in it at all. A carburetor. That's what I'm after. But if you're going to buy a luxury vehicle, obviously you can write the whole thing off, but you do have to make sure that you lose money on that vehicle all the way through. All right. You do it the way, like there's this, I forget his name. I started following him like 10 days ago. It's a Jewish guy. He's probably in his early 70s, where he says, we Jews, and he tells you a lesson on how Jews are rich. And he's giving away the secrets. I mean, the guy is awesome. So he does talk about luxury vehicles, where he says that you can buy one through the corporation. It never leaves the corporate name unless you're going to pull my stunt and take the capital loss on the corporation. Sell the luxury vehicle for $1 to another corporation, sell it back for $2, and you've got the capital loss. I mean, what are you trying to do with luxury vehicles? If you're showing off, that's your money. You do whatever you want. But if you're actually buying them for a write-off and a capital loss, then sure, get yourself a luxury vehicle, but make sure I'm your tax guy. Is crypto untraceable to the CRA? No, unless you're on Moneris and a few of the other hidden coins, but you don't have to answer their questions. If the CRA calls you saying, hey, we think you just traded 6 Bitcoin, I have no idea what you're talking about. Don't ever call me again. Click. Oh, if the province says you owe parking tickets, they just will not allow you to renew that particular license plate. That's why every vehicle that I own in Canada for the last 5 years is in a corporation's name. Why? Especially if it's got Alberta plates on it. You can acquire like 10,000 parking tickets and then sell the car to another corporation and then bury the corporation. Oh yeah, man, I know what I'm doing. All right, Sask says, with an annual income of $80,000, I have a tax balance owing of $2,100. Okay, that's what they say. But if I redo your taxes, we'll get that closer to zero. An opinion on Alberta's separation? It would be the greatest thing in the world for both the United States and for Alberta. I am no longer a Canadian by heart. I'm done. And so long as Alberta boots out the Royal Canadian Mounted Police and Alberta begins the process of booting out the extremist left-wing nuts and becomes the 51st state, or at least an American protectorate, Alberta will be the richest plot of land on the planet for the next 10 years. I think it's a great idea. Absolutely a wonderful idea for Alberta to separate. Perry, the CRA has no fiscal offices, and I know the CRA is taking all their blue mailboxes away after the tax season. Yeah, that's what they do. They don't want mail. That way they can say that you didn't pay them. They're a bunch of scammers. I owe $25,000 in parking tickets, and they say they will take it from my taxes when I file. How would they do that? It's against the car. Unless if the car was in your personal name, they could sue you, the individual person. They could do that. Nobody should have a license plate where the car is in their name. You know what all you got to do? You got to start cooperating with each other. If 10 people got together and all put their cars in the same corporation, you can get fleet car insurance, which is considerably cheaper for the entire fleet of cars. The problem with Canadians, they don't know how to cooperate with anybody. I'm going to give you an example, everyone. This actually fried my ass when I was doing this. All right. This is back to the ancient history of 2003. What I did is I had this deal with all my neighbors. They would all culminate. They would give me $20 a piece, sometimes 30. I would shoot down to the food terminal that supplies food for all the restaurants and grocery stores, and I would come back with a minivan full of food, literally like full of food. And I'd spread everything out on my driveway, and everyone would come by. So you were getting like 5 pounds of bananas for $1, 4 pounds of strawberries for $2. So people would come and get their produce from me. Now, the end result of it was I got produce free of charge, but it wasn't free. I had to drive downtown Toronto. I had to stand in line. I had to go in. I had to buy everything. I had to load it up in my van. And then one day, some busybody fat pig loser Karen says, well, you're getting your food for free. You're not splitting everything equally. And then everyone else started saying, yeah, Kevin doesn't actually pay for this. And I explained, well, there's my time. There's my fuel. There's me standing in line. There's me having to clean my van out every couple of weeks because all the spiders get into it. You don't think that after all this labor that I'm performing, that I should get at least my fruit paid for, my produce? No, they didn't see it that way. So I just told them all, F yous all, I'm done. You go shop on your own. Canadians are always believing someone else is getting a better deal. They don't cooperate, and they cannot wait to sabotage both you and themselves because of their own arrogance and stupidity, which is why I don't do anything for free anymore. And I'm not volunteering my time. I'm not picking up the phone unless I've been paid to do so. That's the way that it works. All of you in Canada, if you could grow the F up and start working together, realizing that you don't need to fight your neighbor. You got to fight the government. You got to fight the institutions. You got to fight the insurance companies. That's who you fight. Form an army and fight the outside problems. But no, all of you want to fight everybody else. You want to gossip about each other. You want to say, oh, I hate that guy over there, John, because his wife is thinner than my wife. I hate that woman across the road because her husband's taller than my husband. That's the stuff you Canadians care about. You do. You admit it. You do. So you're broke because you're focused on the wrong crap. Focus on self-improvement and making money. Never mind what your neighbors are doing. Who cares if your neighbor's got a bigger house? Who cares if their car is a little faster than yours? Who cares if the guy's got a wife and a side chick? That's none of your business. Smarten up, everybody. Everyone. Let me check more of your questions here. Should I claim rental income on my income tax? Absolutely not, because now you're telling the CRA that you have an extra property. No, do not do that. Okay. So for a farm corporation, can you have only one to hold multiple quarters of land? If you've got a farm that's been split into parcels, each parcel should be in its own corporation, because that way, if you get short on cash, you can just start selling parcels off or rent them out. Entirely up to you. All righty. Let's go to the bottom here. I'm a private mortgage lender. Oh, wait, hold on. So you're a private mortgage lender. I don't have to claim. I want to talk to you. All right. I want to talk to you. Go to my website right now. Kevin J Johnston, my name, kevinjjohnston.com. Put down Rescue Druthi and give me your name and phone number. I'm going to call you tomorrow when I get into the office. I want to talk to as many mortgage lenders as I possibly can. I got an idea to remove every lender from the tax system. I got a plan. I've been studying tax code. It's not law, tax code for 41 years. Believe me, I've got a plan. I want to talk to you. To clarify, do I report the sale of a residence? No. It's none of their business. No. Don't even cross it out. Just leave it blank on the tax return. People, other accountants will say, well, they'll eventually figure it out. Yeah, and you're going to deny it. Or you're not going to talk to them. No, hey, you sold a house 4 years ago. No idea what you're talking about, man. Call my lawyer, Fungu. That's how you got to treat these people. The problem is all of you answer questions. You think you're obligated to answer questions. Exercise your right to remain silent. Shut up. Stop talking. Don't answer questions. You are snitching on you when you answer their questions. All right. Don't claim rental income, ? What happens when the tenant says they rent on their taxes? There's no write-off for rent on taxes, so it doesn't make a difference at all. And you are allowed to deny, and you are allowed to just not answer questions. There you go. So what if? Well, what if you're going to stand tall, you're going to be a man about it, and you're going to be mean and vicious and vile to everybody in the Canadian government who's asking personal questions? It's none of your goddamn business. Period. Man up, everybody. Oh, Rescue Druthi, power sales stuff. I want to talk to you. Please get me your information. What's the plan? I've got 4 minutes left in the show. I can't really get into my plan, but believe me, it's good. You had a rental and you then lived in it and you recently sold it. Okay, so if you're living in it, it's your primary residence. When you sell it, there's no capital gains. Just like that. Just like that. All right, let me check the YouTube room because we're down to our last couple of minutes here. I have NOAs for 4 years of taxes, and they made up numbers for my income that they want me to pay tax on. They gave me 90 days to dispute it. What do? You dispute it. You just go to Chat GPT, tell it to take you directly to the objection form, fill out the objection form, tell them that that they assessed you, that there was no income for that time, and you are objecting. And they might side with you. They'll probably side with themselves, and then we just take them to tax court. So in about 2 years, you may get a tax court date, but tax court's just a tribunal. It's a joke. It's not a real court, everybody. It's an absolute disgrace is what it is, with no real authority. So we can have a lot of fun in that. My daughter is a server and hasn't filed taxes for 10 years. Should she file? Well, if there's a benefit to it, sure. If they're bugging her, sure. Make sure I'm her tax guy and she won't pay any tax. Can they catch unreported rental income on suites? If you phone and you tell them yes, otherwise, no. They're not that smart, everybody. Okay. Do I live every day? I am one of those guys who lives life to the fullest every day. But I mean, like right now, I'm living life to the fullest. I love what I do for a living, everybody. I love interfering with the Canadian government. I love taking down the CRA. I love making sure all of you who are watching this show are putting your money back where it belongs. That's in your pocket. Don't give it to the CRA. Put it in your pocket. And I despise the CRA and what they do. I despise bullies in general. When someone bullies another person that they don't know, that's a psychopath. The CRA is bullying everybody every day saying, give us money. But they can't even prove that you owe it. You don't owe it just because they say that you owe it. So stop giving it to them and stop telling the truth about you and what you have. The more questions you answer, the more tax dollars you're going to pay. So just shut up when the CRA is asking questions. And when you want to change the director of your corporation to make it not you, first off, we have to swear in affidavits, backdating your step down to the date that you actually stepped down. And then we can make Bugs Bunny or Ronald Reagan or Stevie Nicks or anybody else the director of the corporation, so long as it's not you. Wow, everybody. We've come to the end of another show. Those 2 hours just flew on by, everyone. Yes, I'm in my new office. Yes, I'll be taking care of the big echo problem that we have. I got to get soundproofing now for these big windows. I've got 9-foot high windows here. Wow, it's crazy. This new office is absolutely wonderful. So I want to say thank you to all of you for being here. Thank you for all the interactions tonight. Thank you for all of the questions, everybody. And I'm going to see you again in a week's time. My name is Kevin J. Johnston. This is the Tax and Money Show that runs absolutely every single Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on freedomreport.ca. I love you all, and good night.